All right. Technically speaking, all we need to do now is to actually reach the end of the hallway and actually face the final boss. Again, the DLC is almost over anyway, surprisingly enough. But we can also use the navigator to re-explore the castle and collect all the trinkets we're missing. I'm not going to showcase everything, but I'm going to use this time... yeah, there you go. I'm going to use this time to showcase a couple of things that I did in the main game, like some of the sub-weapons.
Nice.
So yeah, again, it's a very short-lived DLC. I forgot how much did this thing cost. Might have been 15. It's still overpriced. Compared, again, much like in the first game, it's still overpriced as DLC. And what I'm not, again, against the idea of these kind of DLC episodes for the game, I do generally believe Konami did overprice them for what they were worth. Again, in comparison, the Asura's Wrath DLC packages costed much less and provided you technically more content. Sure, they were on a different level, compared to how the gameplay functions, but I do believe the actual, balancing between cost and content was actually more in your favor.
It really does come down to, again, okay, this is a similar situation, except the difference being that you arguably don't need this one as much as Azura's Wrath does complete the story.
Which will kind of goes onto the other opposite extreme onto that. The fact that it kind of makes it pointless when you get down to it. So the question will be, why would you want it to play in the first place? And to be fair, the gameplay is slightly different enough for you to, to actually engage it. But story-wise, you really, really do not need it.
And like you mentioned, it's really, really short. Like, it's like to a point where, honestly, this probably could have just been like, a tiny little mini chapter of the main playthrough, which is more or less how you're presenting it. I mean, yeah, you still have to access on the menu, which, yeah, kind of a shame that it's not one of those DLCs that will automatically just, inject itself into the main timeline if you, buy it. Like, those kind of DLCs are pretty cool here and there. But, yeah, in regards to this one here, it does feel very, very short, to the point where this really could have just been part of the main game. That said, I do feel like this probably benefits the most from people like GamerFum TV who like to make timeline videos, because, of course, then we'll need that footage, of course.
Well, to be honest, again, I also did paste these parts to be done before actually the finale, since they do take place, before the main game, but you need the context of, why Alucard is doing this and potentially the twist. I could have easily just put this at the beginning of the game, but it wouldn't have the same impact. So there is
Oh,
that.
Yeah. I guess I should clarify, not just timeline videos, but, people who like to have the entire, all the story that the game grants to them in that regard. Okay, and like I said, huge missed opportunity in not adding other things, like showing how Alucard came to the decision of trying to rehabilitate his father instead of killing him. Actually showing him crafting and getting all this stuff, and how he adapted after Mirror of Fate. Like, it feels like I mentioned, it feels like there's quite a gap between Mirror of Fate and this game.
Not just that, it really does feel like developers wanted to have a lot of games, each of them telling this kind of story, but when Konami decided to start farting onto himself, they were like, okay, let's try to cram in as much as we can into this last basket and see how it turns out.
I do wonder why they didn't... Okay, keep all the Dracula stuff in the main game, but it feels like there were some ideas that may have worked better with the Alucard DLC, and I'm like, yeah, why not just allocate that to the Alucard DLC and give that stuff more stuff to flesh it out? Like, again, maybe the DLC also had to be rushed. I'm not as clear on the development process with the DLC as I am with the main game, so, Tio, do you have any insight?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Like I said, I don't have as much intel on how the development process with the DLC went compared to the main game.
I don't know that either. I know the fact that... hold on, I'll show you something. Here's the dodo. It's disgusting. You basically, when you actually free it, it will actually roam around and give you that indicator that you can spot at the top right corner on your map, giving you a general direction where you're supposed to go. And it will actually, perch on top of a treasure box, that you haven't found yet. And you have a kind of a limited time. It's generous, but it's still a limited time to find it before the dodo literally explodes. Yes. And after you find it, it explodes, regardless. But it's a useful tool that, gives you a general indication without being too obvious. Anyway, to answer Joe's question, I don't know. I know, like I mentioned, that for the first game, Dave Cox referred to as the post-game DLC as, a mistake. And as we have seen, yes, because they actually are integral to the plot in that kind of sense, But this... I get the idea. Considering again, like I said, this incorporates a couple of mechanics that the dev team wanted to have in the game but could not implement properly and just wanted to put on a smaller scale. I get the idea this was just, an extra thing they could do with the time that they had for funsies. Especially considering how the story kind of provides, a definitive conclusion, even if it's not a completely satisfying one, I might add. Anyway, what I just did was the Art of Alchemy. I think I'm gonna read the entry in the next part, actually. Essentially, like I mentioned in the past, you can put in a stasis kind of, state, up to like 3 of your side weapons. Ouch. And reconvert them into any other sub-weapons that you want, meaning that if you have a shortage of one or a surplus of ones that you don't need, you can easily just, reconvert them in the way you prefer. So there is that. Anyway, moving on. I'm just showcasing me getting this treasure and then I'll cut final boss. I just considering again the part of the race would have been short enough. I said, well, let's put this small extra to just for funsies. Keep in mind, this was also before. This was considering that's one thing that I didn't mention. Originally, I did recorded this for us to do without Shiroi. It was only during the summer period where I decided to actually include her for these. I think, at the very least. It's been actually a while, to be honest.
Like I've mentioned, I do feel like, having now revisited this game properly, I feel like the running theme is missed potential. In the sense that, well, I do feel like they pushed in so many ideas that some ideas don't feel like they have as much room to breathe and reach their full potential, while on other points, like I mentioned, it is full-on missed potential. Like, again... Now, I do appreciate that they did try to wrap up the story of the franchise. Like I said, there was so much missed potential in actually having a full-on game where it's just, you playing as Dracula and his cronies against humanity. Hello.
You're one ugly piece of shit. There you go. Alright, now, if I recall correctly, let's go to talk to Mappa.
2 hours later.
After 2 hours, apparently.
So
Yeah.
you can ship post.
I can, just in a small capacity.
Father will soon be awake. Now I must return to the city and defend him from his enemies. Everything will be all right.
Insert song quote. Yeah. Alright. Now that Dracula has all the things set in place inside his own mind, it's just a matter of making sure Zobek finds him. Hmm?
He is coming.
But who?
Father, I am ready.
I'm sure you are, son. He said in his sleep.
Anyway, again, the last section will be available only in the present. There you go. Apologies, I think my Elgato might have frozen up a bit there too. Sorry. But yeah, there's a cool thing. You get to actually walk through the places that were both at the beginning of this game and in the post-credit scene of the first one. Look at that, it's the throne room. From that.
Hey.
That is pretty cool, actually. The stained glass, so there you go. This was before Zobek found him.
Yeah,
Again,
this is what I mean. We're clearly in the modern timeline now.
Now we are, because Marie allows us to teleport away from it, from the psyche thing.
Oh, that's the thing, though. This is the room we were in when Marie first appeared. Well,
Yes, she exited the place to reach Alucard.
So what you're saying is that beings from Dracula's mind can also come out into the room.
Remember, the blood does.
Yeah, even if it is technically explained, which I really don't feel like it's done well, I really do feel like it would have been much more simple if they just made it that the castle stuff is all stuff said in the past and it's tied to Dracula's mind.
Anyway, there we go. Time for the final boss. So let's go meet whoever this person is.
And who might it be?
Well, think about it. There's still one thing that we don't know yet. It's the lieutenant, the real one this time.
Right on time.
Well,
And yes, it was by Richard Madden.
so it was your presence we felt. We thought it was your father. My master is going to be so disappointed.
About
What is
that?
that Alucard has to say?
Piss off.
Nice arm.
It's actually the name of the trophy achievement that you get if you defeat him. That's pretty cool. So yeah, the final boss is the lieutenant. Again, the last thing that we need is Dracula to impersonate him, which will fit, quietly into everything else. Alucard will report to Zobek, telling that they have found, Dracula, and also will set in motion the events of the game. Again, I kind of like on a narrative point how everything fits together on this kind of thing when it comes to the modern times. The only thing that, again, like Jova mentioned, it's more complicated is the relation between the jumping between the past and the present, the psyche past, whatever it is.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like it just would have been much more simple to just have it be... I mean, heck, it doesn't even have to be time travel. Just say that, oh, these events were happening in the past technically, but in a sense we're kind of sort of reliving them, except it turns out that they were tied to modern events and whatnot, so that's why this or that happened. And maybe onlookers from the Brotherhood of Light saw this and thought, wait, what the devil is going on, and reported it as such.
There we go. Again,
Oh
also,
man, this lieutenant, I'm sure the ultimate jobber. He died before the game even started.
basically. That's the irony. But to be honest, for a final boss fight for the DLC, it's pretty worth it. A lot of, varied attack, original, and fit for Alucard. Again, fit for the smaller scale. It's not as grandiose as the final boss of the main game might be, or as Satan was in the first game, but it does the job it's supposed to do.
Which is partly why I do recommend that even if you don't play this at the start, you should play this DLC before finishing the main campaign. Oh boy.
Ow, that I wasn't supposed to do that. And this is also actually an original score done for the DLC. Again, there is that just enough to give its identity.
Too easy.
All too easy. I mean, why not? The games are chock full of Star Wars quotes. Yeah, you also get that special kind of animation every time you counter it.
You're not worth dirtying my blade with.
Dude, you're the one who's losing. Also,
what else is he gonna say? Go
Also,
on,
also, apologies, Jesus, when you're witnessing all of this. So don't worry, we'll fix this up quickly.
Yeah. God, I wonder what he thinks while watching this. Dad, some of your weirder toys are starting to act weird up again.
Immortals should not fight on holy ground, even though I forgot by which, but I think by the time of V-Source, they actually completely forgot about that rule. So
That's the thing, though. That's the thing, though. We're
to be fair, the
technically...
second film kind of made that rule pointless.
that's the thing, though, with both the Sorcerer and the Endgame, yes, Highlander Endgame specifically, do remember that rule exists. So I don't even know what happened.
What are you talking about?
Maybe Highlander.
The Highlander series.
Basically,
maybe Highlander wasn't the most well put together series.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing, Dad. Highlander, the first film, is awesome. But the second film is one of the worst sequels ever, to the point where every other sequel tried to pretend that it didn't exist.
It's like the people who made that movie didn't even know anything about the first one, which is weird because... Which is weird, like I was about to get that, yes, it's good because it's from the same director.
But believe it or not, Dad, that's not where the story of badness ends. Like, everyone thought Highlander 2 was as bad as it was gonna get. And then Highlander 5, the source happened, and
I argue already
Endgame.
I argue already Endgame did set up the seeds because it tries to blend in the movie continuity and the series, live action series continuity into one narrative, and it just doesn't work. It ends up with the main character of the series killing, the main character of the movies, and it's just why are you doing that?
Yep.
That was.
And then the source happens, which is just laughable.
It was all about love.
No, it wasn't.
Oh my God!
To give you an idea, Dredge, the series that started about warriors hailing from Scotland as the last movie with only exactly one character using a Scottish accent as a joke for its introductory scene, and then he drops it.
This is the end of time!
Okay. Remind me, Tio, are the Highlander commentaries some of our ones with, odd audio hiccups from our older days?
No, but I do believe Shira is, it might be interested to be for generations of those. They're being old enough. No,
sure, why not?
I don't even remember if we mentioned stuff like the villain of the first movie is actually kind of... I don't actually remember if we mentioned stuff like the villain of the first movie being Clancy Brown of all people.
You see, Shiro, according to Highlander 2, Alice is actually an alien from planet Zeist.
Though, actually, Jova, I wonder, for generations of 2, should we stick to the main cut or just watch, the actual director's cut?
No. I'm sorry, Theo, but if we're going to watch those, I have to insist the same thing I did all those years ago. We have to watch the theatrical cut. Because you have to understand, that was the cut we got back in the day.
Believe it or not, Sherry, Highlander 2 is one of the few cases where the director's cut actually cuts away stuff.
One last desperation attempt.
So it's like the director's cut of Die Hard 5, Jim.
I haven't seen that. Alright, last thing we need to do is to jump there and then use the wool power, if I recall correctly. There we go. And you're basically done.
Stabby.
We'll just need to buff that out of the armor later on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love you too. No doubt, please.
I am your father.
No, you're not. I literally just...
Yes, Jesus, don't worry. I will fix this quickly. Don't worry.
There's a mop. We'll take care of it.
I knew it. He was gas all along.
It's wow. How
he was about to reveal his identity, but Thanos slapped him out.
And how convenient that it's exactly Alucard's size, even though I don't know how he's gonna fit all his hair into that.
Hey, I say this, how more convenient is it that he actually left the armor behind, whereas most people usually take their clothes with them when we kill them?
Also, Tio, cosplayers can manage, he can too.
Hyperspace hair. Yeah, that fits nicely.
Behold, Dark Samus.
Kinda.
Lord Zobek. We found him. You were right. He is here.
It's amazing his voice is exactly the same coming out.
Just a little bit of a practice for his acting.
Mm-hmm.
I love
It's like-
the heroic
it'd be like if
nature
he climbed
sounding of
inside
that
the-
music.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you climbed inside a Dalek and that voice came out of it. Oh wait.
So yeah, that was the Alucard DLC. I know that it's back again we're getting credits. I know that it's a bit unconventional, but thoughts on just the story and the gameplay of this DLC, Dweebs?
It's fine. I mean, it does what it has to do. It just basically tells you how Alucard got to that point in the main story. And that's about it, really.
Do you think the gameplay with the sword is different enough? Do you think it offers too many limitations because it's shorter than reaching people with a whip?
I think it's fine. I mean, I prefer swords to whips anyway.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a sword. It's long. It's heavy. It can cut things. A whip is a whip.
Depends on the type, Dweebs. There are stuff like the cat o' nine tails, which can do some damage. But I get what you mean.
So what's
Well-
your favorite type of sword? Rapier?
A sword that can cut things. Really, if it doesn't, then it's a shit sword.
Okay, I'm gonna chalk it up to traditional one-hand sword, Jova. Anyway,
Yeah,
you're done.
when it comes to weaponry, I'm a traditionalist. If it works, great.
If it makes
as-
someone bleed, we can kill it.
Yeah, as is this DLC in general, it works, so it's fine. I mean, it's not great, it's not terrible, it's perfectly fine. It does its job well.
All right then. Shiroi.
This was pretty good. I mean, the story was surprising, at least. That is really all I have to say about it. But it was actually, I liked it. Gameplay is fine, I guess. I like the aesthetics, at least, particularly character designs. So, and that's it. Really,
All right,
this was nice.
Also, yes, we actually used the Abbey Road Orchestra. Interesting. We also used the one from Valencia, as in Spain.
Master Symphony Orchestra Valencia. Damn. Quite the name.
And also in Bratislava. Seriously? Huh. They went for all over
Bratislava
Europe.
Symphony Orchestra and the Bratislava Symphony Choir.
Basically ex-Czechoslovakia.
Man, so many orchestras.
Yeah, interesting.
Beautiful,
Damage.
ain't it?
It was interesting. Cool to play as someone else other than Dracula in this game. Now, his abilities are pretty cool, like the wolf, but it's trying to honor what was in the original games. So I respect
Symphony
it.
of the Night and like that.
I mean, the story is weird, but whatever. Because it's like, yeah, so me and my son were playing 4D chess to trick the audience and Patrick Stewart.
Yes.
It's like one
and
of those
to an extent,
fake
Jason
headlines,
Isaacs as well.
Extreme prank against Patrick Stewart and Jason Isaac gone wrong.
Actually, apparently it went right.
Well, it went wrong
Devilishly
for
right.
them. Alright, you're done, Dej?
Yeah.
Jova, why not?
Honestly, I like this DLC bout. Again, I do feel, though, for something that needs to be paid for, it feels way too short. Like I said, missed potential with, ironing out more of the story details with Alucard. Like, we don't know what was the development process of this DLC, so I can't help but wonder why they missed the mark on that. That being said, Alucard's moveset is varied and different enough from Dracula's that it feels like a unique enough experience. And I do like the triumphant music that we end on with Alucard, definitely because, it does show that it is the darkness before the light. That plan is going to succeed amazingly. And, you know, it's like finally about happiness for this family.
Yeah.
Jesus. Although, yeah, this DLC does exacerbate one of the issues I've had with how the castle works, essentially. Again, it becomes very more confusing every bit here and there. All that said, still do enjoy this DLC. I do like that it gives Alucard even more of a presence in it, and I can appreciate it well for that.
All right, Pedro.
I enjoy it fine, but I will say that, yeah, I agree that it is probably a bit short. I think like it probably could have gone a bit longer. And Murray is also starting to get him on my nerves. But yeah, the gameplay seems like a nice change of pace, and yeah, aside from that, yeah, it seems fine story wise as well. So it should be interesting to see how this all ends.
Mm-hmm. I guess when it comes instead to weapon types, Pedro, you're more into magic wands.
Obviously.
What about you, Joe? I actually didn't ask.
Oh, you're that guy.
Let's see. I do like the kind of weapons that combine ammunition with being a sword.
A gunblade, perchance?
I mean, there are real ones, and some of them actually do have...
Okay, can I talk about that? Yes, there were gunblades in real life, but guess what? Those gunblades were easily breakable.
I'm not talking about the ones you're thinking of, Pedro. I'm talking about the ones that actually were more useful.
I will also mention Final Fantasy XIV implements also gunblades for some of its classes and in story for the Garlemald Empire, and they're actually more cool, you know, and more practical than the one in 8.
Personally, I'm more of a fan of a Keyblade myself.
I mean,
Pumpkin's the best one. Shut up.
Dej, that's a blunt object, not a sword.
Well, it works, doesn't it?
I have a Keyblade in real life. I'm telling you that shit can hurt.
Oh, I can imagine.
Bonk.
Anyway, go to darkness jail. Anyway, let me conclude. Why not? I like this. It's pretty much the same as the others. I like this DLC, but it's too short, you know. And I like playing as Alucard just as much as his father, you know. But again, there's so much stuff that you can do, and I do believe, you know, it really feels more like an afterthought. In retrospect, I did enjoy more the DLCs of the first game because I was more invested in understanding the plot at the expense of the fact that they were pivotal for the for plot to me to know. I guess for the choice of a scenario, I would rather take a DLC that includes stuff that is mandatory because at least I know for a fact that I'm supposed to pay attention, rather than one where I'm just like, okay, I'll just play this casually on my own, and just ignore things that are happening. I don't know, it makes you think like I spent my money for something more worthwhile. The music is still fine, even the original pieces for this are, very, very little, actually. And the way that it ties up, also, like, say, Drovadi, the more triumphant reprise, it's also nice. That just leaves the ending of the main game. So tune in next time, where Dracula finally has to see if Satan actually gets someone, and in case, confront him properly. So see you for that.
See ya.
Bye.